The president has a new proposed budget that includes proposed cuts to agriculture. Joining us now is our extension economist, Larry Sanders. And Larry, let's kind of just start with a general overview of what this budget looks like.
Well, as happens every January or February, President Trump has offered up his ideas for the budget, and he has put forth a $4.8 trillion with a T budget for the various departments of the federal government. And in it, it includes mostly cuts to most of the departments, everywhere from 38% for commerce and including 8% for agriculture. He's considering some increases for defense, homeland security, VA, so it kind of begins to give a general outline of where he's looking to improve things and where he's looking to cut back.
Let's talk specifically about the proposed cuts to agriculture and kind of what that piece of it looks like.
Sure, understanding that this is for strategic planning, he's looking at over a 10-year period of beginning to cut back on crop insurance, especially looking at the eligibility rules. He's looking at cutting back on nutrition programs big time. He's looking at cutting back on conservation. Again, thinking that probably we don't need to cover that for a long term. He's not looking too much at cutting back on some of the safety net programs.
In terms of what happens next, this really is just a starting point. None of this is a done deal yet, right?
That's right. One thing to understand is that every time, regardless of who's president, regardless of their party, everybody generally knows that when the president hands this to Congress, that it is DOA, dead on arrival. It's not real. It's simply for strategic planning. It's an outline for federal agencies to begin their planning in earnest. It's an outline for them, if you will, although it's line by line, very detailed. It begins a dialogue between the president and Congress on how he or she perceives what their priorities are on running the government. Within a couple of weeks, the House and the Senate will provide budget resolutions for what they think is important. Both the president's budget and the House and Senate's resolutions are political statements. So they're going to be very different on how they see the world.
And will the stakes even be higher during a presidential election year?
No doubt about it. The president has raw meat for his political base in his budget, as will the House and Senate in theirs. Even though the Senate is Republican, there'll certainly be some things that they will disagree with the president on, because many of them are running for office re-election this year. And the House, all of them are running for re-election. So and because most of them are Democrat, they'll certainly disagree with the president on things. Also, the president is looking for saying, hey, this is a multi-trillion-dollar budget, but look, I really want to cut big government. And so he's saying, well, we're not going to get to a balanced budget soon. We are going to see it out there by 2035.
Got it. That's a ways down the road, but I guess a way to start the conversations. Last but not least, just the takeaways for Oklahoma producers to keep in mind during this process.
Well, I'd say first and foremost, they're not going to see a great deal of change in the immediate term, but because it is beginning a dialogue in earnest, they're going to want to make sure that they let their representatives know how they feel about the programs they have. And if they care about specific programs that are in force right now, they'll want to be letting their representatives know that they want to see those maintained into the immediate future. And believe it or not, we're going to begin to talk about the next farm bill in 2022. Those discussions are already beginning behind closed doors, if you will. So farm organizations and individual producers, it's time to begin to let your voices be heard.
A lot of dialogue. Well, Larry, thank you very much for getting us up to speed, and we'll see you again soon.